Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Biddison and I'm going to be reviewing I/O product information. This is data that will be collected on every I/O, every division, globally, effective January 1st, 2015. We'll start with a basic overview of what I/O product information is, then we'll cover the definitions for each of the fields that will be collected. That's really going to be the meat of this presentation. Then we'll cover how these fields impact the rate card. Note there are two versions of this presentation. One is for the US-Canadian markets and the other is for all other markets. You are listening to the presentation for all other markets. First, a high-level overview of the product information. What? For every placement in every I/O, you'll need to select division, what audience is being targeted, what inventory is being targeted, what creative units will be used, what is the metric that the client is paying, and additional targeting. Why? We're making this a global mandatory process since we currently capture these fields only in a few countries. These will give us greater visibility into network dynamics and what we're selling. These will also directly impact how sales commissions are being calculated. Where? This data is to be entered directly into Expo 9. Who? Based on your country's process, either sales reps or sales planning will be responsible for completing this. And when? All 2015 I/Os will need this information. It will be collected prior to launch during the I/O creation phase for Expo I/Os. As mentioned, you'll now be selecting from drop-downs in Expo 9 the product information. Internal product selection of open or select will no longer be valid. This is because we'll be using product information selections to determine open or select categorization. The product information fields in the green box will be mandatory for every line item in every I/O. The first field collected is division, which should be self-explanatory. Worth calling out, all of these slides, as well as the one-page summary, will be uploaded to ExpoNet. The second field is metric. Remember, what you select is how the I/O was sold, not how we manage the campaign in Expo 9. For example, if the client's paying cost per engagement, we may run this internally as a CPC or CPM flight. You should still select CPE since this is a metric of how the client is paying. There are 4 potential CPM selections. CPM branding is pure branding, zero performance. This is when the client's only goal is reach and audience targeting. All divisions can run this metric. CPM with CTR goal is a client paying on a CPM basis and their main goal is site traffic or driving clicks. There's typically a target CTR or an effective CPC that they want to hit. CPM with CPA goal is a client paying on a CPM basis and they want their campaign optimized towards a specific action, for example an email sign-up or a purchase. Having a pixel in place to optimize towards this is the most efficient way to run this campaign. And then lastly, a CPM net block. This is pure branding over a short duration of time. For example, promoting a new movie release or an upcoming holiday weekend sale. The criteria for net block is that the duration is 5 days or less, and the spend is $10K per day or more in the US, Australia, Canada, and the UK, or $5K per day or more in the other markets. There are also 2 CPA choices. Note that CPA is a metric that is only permitted in certain countries and is typically TF only. View-based CPA is a client paying only for a specific action, like a purchase. Clients will value conversions driven by an impression within a set look-back window. This is sometimes called I-to-C or an impression to conversion campaign. Alternatively, a click-based CPA only requires the client to pay for an action that was driven directly from a user clicking on a banner. This is sometimes called C2C. Here's a summary of the metrics that are available for each division. For example, view-based CPA is a metric only sold via Tribal Fusion. Now we get into targeting, audience and inventory. There's often confusion between these two. And the thing you'll need to know is that every campaign will have both audience and inventory targeting. Audience is the users who you target, and inventory is the sites on which you target. First, let's review the different audience targeting options. Again, who you are targeting the campaign to. This can range from very broad, like all users in the network, to very limited, auto in market for a luxury sedan, for example. First is all audiences, or ROA, run of audience. This means that we're targeting 100% of the users in the exponential network. This is the broadest audience targeting. All audiences with retargeting is once again 100% of users, but the client has explicitly requested to identify a retargeting population that you will also target. Expo Audience Blend is the new name for internal audience blend. This is targeting all audiences as well as an upweight to an audience found in Exponential's topic tree. For example, the Hilton hotel chain wants to target all users in the network, but wants to focus on the hotel seeker population. This is sometimes referred to as ROA+, in particular in the UK market, and this is the most popular audience targeting. This is now going to be called Expo Audience Blend, even for ROA+ campaigns. With exponential audience blends, inventory best practice is to target all sites. We don't want to restrict access to any users in the hotel seeker population, for example. Third-party audience blend is the new name for external audience blend. Similar to Expo Audience Blends, this is targeting all audiences with an upweight to an audience, but this time the audience is from a third-party vendor, for example, a Bizu or a Polk. For example, Honda, an auto manufacturer, wants to target all users in the network, but wants to focus on the eco-friendly auto intenders for their new hybrid vehicle campaign. As with Expo Audience Blends, all sites or run of network is best practice for inventory targeting. Interest-based audiences is targeting an audience subset from Exponential's topic tree. For example, this is targeting only users who have the home and family attributes. This is for a client who's more focused on a specific audience and is typically a branding solution. Again, you won't want to limit access to these already smaller predefined population of users, so all sites is best practice for inventory. Third-party audience only is exactly that. We only target users who have attributes as defined by a third-party vendor. Scale here can be very limited. It's a branding solution, and it's not an option for all business units in all countries. An example is in the US, we ran a Chex Snack Mix campaign that targeted only a Datalogix gluten-free audience. Again, inventory best practice is all sites or RON. The final four are less common audience targeting solutions. Retargeting only signifies showing only impressions to an audience that's been identified via a pixel. Typically, it's a retargeting visitor that goes to a site. Then is first-party audiences via DMP or data management platform. This is a more sophisticated targeting solution and requires data integration. And for this reason, Lucinda Goucher from PSO should be involved in all pre-sale conversations for this audience targeting solution. An example is Best Buy, an electronics retailer. They pay BlueKai to collect data on their website via pixels. They then process and segment the data. For example, BlueKai creates categories like TV and DVD players, and they bucket those users via cookies, which Exponential then targets. Lookalike is using exponential data or third-party data and building an audience model. Then the highest lift audiences are scaled to reach similar users in the network. Lastly is Prospect. This is only Tribal Fusion. Simply put, this is targeting a prospect audience used to find new users via arrow optimization. Because it's only new users, there's no retargeting population. Now, not all audiences can be targeted in all divisions, so here's a chart for your reference. Inventory must also be selected for every placement. There are 6 options. The first is the broadest, all sites or run of network. This is targeting 100% of the sites in the network. Note there's some countries that by default block sites for their campaigns. Remember, IO product fields are based on IO sold. So from the client's perspective, you're still targeting 100% of the sites in the exponential network. So in this case, you would still select all sites RON. Channel only is the next option, whereby a client indicates the specific channels to target. Here it's entertainment. So only entertainment sites will be targeted. Note, for certain countries like Spain that target Iberic channel, this is not channel-only targeting. This is because these fields, again, represent how the I/O was sold, how the client views this inventory. And in the client size, this isn't a channel-only campaign. This is an all sites or RON campaign, and so that's what you should select. When the inventory is constrained to a number of sites, it's best practice to keep audience targeting as open as possible to not limit reach. All sites with client blocks is next. This used to be called Select ROA. This is when a client provides you a list of sites or channels to be blocked, a blacklist. This should be part of the pre-sale conversation. This would be selected when proactive blocking is used against a site list, or for a brand-sensitive advertiser that wants to avoid running on certain sites. A custom site list is a client-provided list of sites, often called a whitelist. The campaign can only run on the approved sites. And similar to channel only, it's best practice to target all audiences. Site-specific is less common. This is when a campaign targets only one site. The reach is very narrow, and for this reason, this targeting is not an option for all divisions. You should consult with the divisional heads or specialists to check avails for this targeting. As with the other more narrow inventory targeting, audience best practice is to target all audiences. Lastly is mobile web. This is targeting a site via a mobile device. Worth noting is the difference of this inventory for each division, so it's not an option for Firefly campaigns. For Tribal Fusion, this inventory will be selected when a performance display campaign wants to extend its reach onto a mobile site. For Attitube, this is used only for mobile pre-roll campaigns. For AppSnack, mobile web is a default setting for all campaigns except for in-app campaigns. So you should always select another inventory targeting 1 through 5, for example, channel only, because mobile web is assumed as always on, again, except for in-app. In summary, here's the inventory targeting matrix as broken out by division. The fifth product field to select is creative. These will vary based on the division that is running, and they should be fairly self-explanatory. Lastly is miscellaneous targeting. These are new to the product field dropdowns, and as you may have guessed, come from the rate card. A placement can have more than one of these targeting constraints on a given in-country geo, which is a specific city or state within a country like Paris, France, or Florida, US. Frequency cap I/O mandated is when a client specifies a certain frequency cap to be applied to the campaign. Day or time parting is when a campaign can only show impressions during certain times of the day or days of the week. For example, a McDonald's breakfast campaign that only wants to run from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. OS browser and IP targeting are operating system or browser targetings like Safari, Internet Explorer, and Android. And lastly, devices when you only want to target tablets, smartphones, or PCs. For AppSnack campaigns, OS and device targeting is a default setting, so these should always be selected for AppSnack placements. The second portion of miscellaneous targeting covers viewability and verification, something that we are seeing more and more and we currently don't track. These should definitely be part of your pre-sale conversations. Viewability, verification blocking, and verification monitoring. Here's a breakout of miscellaneous targeting by division. Again, you can select more than one for any given line item. To check accuracy of these fields, there'll be regular checks comparing I/O product fields and how the campaign is running. Any inconsistencies will be flagged and sent to the sales organization once per month to be reviewed. You should address these with OMS and update Expo 9 as needed. There may be cases that are being flagged incorrectly, and these should be communicated to OMS. If Expo 9 is not updated within 5 business days, we'll assume the report is accurate and automatically update the system. Not only are the product fields important for network trends and takeaways, but these will directly impact the open and select categorization. Since the product fields are determining open and select, we've updated the rate card to align with the product fields. For example, Audience Blends US only is now broken into Expo Audience Blend and third-party Audience Blend. The only change in open select categorization is a move of retargeting that used to be in open and is now in select. In order for rate to be open, both inventory and audience targeting must be in this category. For example, all sites are RON with all audiences. If there is all audiences, which is open, and all sites with client blocks, which is select, this is a select rate. Note the one exception to this rate card is the UK market, for which Expo Audience Blends, formerly called ROA+, is open. If you've already submitted an IO that will run in 2015, these will be identified and we'll be requesting that you provide product fields via email. If there are any changes to a campaign, for example, verification is being added, you can update the fields in Expo 9 while a campaign is live. If any change constitutes a change from open to select, for example, inventory targeting is changed, a new IO and therefore new product field will need to be submitted. So that completes this presentation. Again, the recording of this presentation and a one-pager summary should be on ExpoNet. As always, please feel free to reach out to myself or Maya. Thanks.